Hey, welcome back to And That's the Minority. It's RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18, Episode 4, I believe. And we're the official, unofficial recap show. That's what I'm going to call us now. You know, we ain't the official pet stop, but we the unofficial hoes. So how about that?
Girl, don't get us in trouble now.
Hey, that's what it is. All right, we'll deal with the repercussions. Hey, World of Wonder. We'll be the unofficial show.
Oh gosh, well, I mean, listen, we are 4 episodes into this season, and this one we're getting, the drama is starting to heat up. Before we dive into all of the drama, all the details, what the challenge is about, whatnot, how are you all feeling about the way that season is progressing now that you've watched the 4th episode?
I feel like I can't answer that question without giving things away. I feel like that's probably afterwards we should answer that, because otherwise I'm gonna have to give some things away. So how about we maybe
give
start
them
the
away,
recap?
give them away, give it away, give it away, give it away now.
Auntie
I'm liking it.
Redirect.
right. No, I can say some things that won't give it away. I like the theatrics. Honestly, this season, the judges' commentary is really what's cracking me the fuck up this
Law
season.
Roach, baby.
Baby. All the judges this year are top tier on their critiques, on their ad-libs, everything. So it's been a very enjoyable watch thus far this season, quite frankly. And going in, like we said a few episodes ago, I was a little leery, and I'm invested. I'm invested in these hoes.
I have to say, after episode 3, and I've always been kind of like just die hard invested in watching and whatnot, but I'm just really appreciating the pace of the series so far, this season so far, and how they've been introducing a lot of the twists and the keeping the audience on our toes about what to expect. You know, obviously there's a lot of things that are anchored in some of the tried and true challenges, but I think the way that they've become more sophisticated in navigating the story with how the season is unfolding has been really, really enjoyable to watch. So this episode is called Who Wore It Best? And we got the teaser last week about this. This is Ru brings the girls back in and introduce the challenge for this. We didn't know that this is going to be a sewing challenge, but the girls have to do a mashup between these original, iconic fashion looks that were worn by celebrities on the red carpet, you know, from anywhere from MTV Music Awards to the Met Gala and beyond. And so Ru asks the girls to pair up with their bestie, which we saw a little bit of drama with. We saw a little drama with that. But before we dive into that, you know, obviously there was a little bit of hashing out of some of the details from last week in terms of some shade that was being thrown around the room, particularly from Briar Blush.
You did it this week.
It don't matter. She gone now.
Girl. Spoiler alert.
And that's it. That's it for the That's the Minority.
But there was a lot of drama and a lot of things that needed to be discussed coming out of last week's episode. Athena took the opportunity to address that in the beginning of the show, and we saw a little bit of backpedaling on Briar's end in terms of what she said versus what she meant, and I think we got to see a little bit of how that is starting to play out, and it just struck me as one of those things that I think we talk about a lot, especially when it comes to competition shows, is that there's a fine line between using some kind of mind games as a strategy to get into other girls' head without allowing yourself to succumb to those same mind games. And I think this was a telltale of when that goes wrong.
And I said it last week's episode. And the second this week came out, I was like, bingo, I called it. I nailed it. I knew Briar was one of those people that I'm going to dish it out before I get dished on. Like, it was just like the telltale sign the whole season. And then sure enough, I'm like, okay. And it's not to like diminish like her story and things like that. But I was like, there we have it. Her story is making her act the way she's acting because that's her wall and her facade, and not wanting to be vulnerable and show the vulnerability, and maybe that I have some cracks in my emotional being and things like that, which we all have it some way, somehow, you know. But this whole episode, and so it was almost hard for me to have some pity slightly for her, because I was like, girl, we've been knowing this. Why you doing this shit? Work on yourself.
But I liked how, like, you know, Mia Starr mentioned, you know, like, girl, the stuff that you're saying off camera, and how the moment the cameras come around, you want to act a certain kind of way. And I love that Mia Starr was like, you know, I'm gonna call this shit out right now. Like, what we not gonna do? And when she was like, little girl, don't do it. I was like, ooh, Molly, you in danger, girl. You better be careful. You better be careful.
I was like, Mia ain't saying nothing for 3 episodes, but she's like, okay, try me if you want to, though.
This is what Jarrell, I 100% agree with you on that. I so appreciated Mia for just standing on business. And this is one of the reasons why I love having more mature dolls on the show, because these young hoes think they can play games. But when you a little long in the tooth, you've been around the block a few times, you know what shit works and what shit ain't gonna work. And I love that she called a spade a spade. She said, what we're not gonna do is play games for the cameras, you know, after you then called everybody out on their name. And you know, this is a lesson that people need to hear. You know, these girls come in here with these kind of attitudes, like they're the shit. You got to be able to back it up. And we saw in this episode, she then fucked around.
She done backed it up, booted it down, fell all out, and all the above.
Found out. So Ru brings the girls in. She talks to them and says, okay, we're going to have a design challenge. We're going to be mixing these 2 styles. It lines all the girls up. They asked them to do the besties. They pick their besties out of the group, which was shocking that after all the stuff that went down between Briar and Juicy and Athena, that she gravitated towards Juicy, which felt kind of like another mind game, like she didn't learn her lesson. And what the girls didn't know was that not only were they pairing up with their besties, but now they're going to have to compete against their besties. So she started.
They should have known. They ain't watched their TV history. You know, there's always a little trick up the sleeve. The second they said, I was like, hold on, Bestie and a Tessie. Hold on, that ain't what's going to happen.
Generally, anytime there is where there's a pairing, you're going to be competing against the person that you're with. Generally, if it's a threesome, usually you don't compete against each other unless
a group assignment.
Your group loses. But if it's a pairing in any challenge, 9 times out of 10, you guys are going to be competing. So, you know, I don't think the girls thought that through, but you know, they didn't. And so that was a challenge. The girls had teamed up and everything. And, you know, then they go through and they pick the numbers. I just want to call out that
I just want to call out the spy man first. Like, I was like, hey, pick
when
crew.
he said, it's like, point to the number 9, he said
bloop.
I said,
took the words right out of my mouth.
that
Vanna Black,
hey,
that Vanna Black, the Vanna Black of it all was like,
baby.
You could point to that, but you couldn't point to the right number on the board.
No.
She said, I don't.
And he even knew the win this show is to make Ru laugh. He even knew.
Yeah.
That's a fine ass man, Maury.
Baby.
That was a fine ass man. So thank you, production team, for the casting on that one. Yes, we'd love to see it. So they go through the whole team goes through, picks their 2 celebrities and their challenge with not recreating, but taking the essence of those designs and coming up with their own creation. So, which I found was a really interesting challenge. And thankfully, they were all provided with materials that they could use to support those looks. So they all separate. They get together in their groups and they start ideating and coming up with ideas and doing their sketches and bouncing off of each other, but also keeping things a little close to the chest because now they know that they're competing against each other. They just happen to be using the same fabrics. What was your impression?
Like, who would you want to pair up with, though? Like, even if you knew maybe slightly that you're going to compete against somebody, Is there someone that like
I'm pairing up against someone who can't sew. Like that's my strategy. I'm going against someone who can't sew, because that's going to help me be able to shine better, because that means it's going to limit them into what they can make.
So you said, "Come here, Kenya."
I mean, Kenya, she can't design. I said this 2 weeks ago. There are a lot of girls on there who know how to put a garment together, but they lack creativity. And that was Kenya's thing. What Kenya made, well, let me stop. So anyway, let's stay on topic. Let's keep with the order.
What did you all think in terms of this as a concept for a challenge? You know, the mashup idea, and then also the double whammy of you're competing against, you know, your quote unquote bestie. Good idea, bad idea. Would you like to see it again?
I didn't mind it. Like, I mean, some of them I was like, damn, it's tough. Like some of the combinations, I was like, how is this going to work? Either like the color schemes were just ugly to me, or it was just so far. I'm like, I don't see the vision.
Neither did they.
But overall, that's the point of it. It's just like push you out your comfort zone and figure the shit out. And so I like that they've already had 2 sewing challenges this early in the show. That I don't know. I can't recall the last time they've done that. It's just like early seasons where that's all they did was sew. That they've had this early of a sewing thing, which I like because it's keeping them off kilter. They don't know where everything is starting to line up. They haven't done the talent show yet, which we know is coming, and things like that. So I like that aspect maybe even more than the actual challenge at hand.
Yeah. I will just say what I said just a few minutes ago. I mean, I love it, but I think a lot of the girls lacked creativity. I think some of the girls didn't do their homework as far as those who know how to sew and be like, hey, for sewing challenges, here are like, this is just me being planned. I would have figured out, hey, here are 10 different type of outfits I can make for sewing challenges. So, and based off of the sewing challenge I got, then they'd be like, okay, here's the material, boom, good. So like I would have done my homework well before this. So that way when it came to picking material, or I was given material, already had a concept in mind. And I think that's where a lot of the girls fell short. They just didn't know how to make something worth being like, oh shit, out of it. So I think it could have been better. I want to see it again. I want to see it done again.
I think you bring up another really important factor, which is really around styling, because there's one thing to be able to execute sewing a garment, and I think a lot of these queens have learned to, you know, take a couple of sewing classes. More is better. Work with a designer to come up with and provide them with some patterns that they can sew, because we don't see a lot of it, but we've heard, you know, in post interviews and whatnot, that's what a lot of the queens will ultimately do. Is they'll have patterns from designers that they work with on certain silhouettes, and it allows them to kind of move quickly into to doing the stuff themselves. They still have to sew it, but the other thing is the taste level. It is the taste level. It is understanding, you know, what fabrics and textures not only work well together, but I think the other component is what works well on camera. Because what works well under the night lights and the night scene, and you know, when you got the spotlight on your face but not on your look, is a very different thing than what works on camera on the RuPaul stage. And I think that's to understand and work through those nuances. We can see queens struggling a lot with that.
Yeah, so, Jarrell, you nailed it. I would also come in 2 designs, maybe 3, just in case, that I know works for my body. So it's going to, whatever this challenge is, I already know what the fuck I'm about to sew. I'm going to make it work with the color scheme or whatever it is. And either the styling is where it kind of comes in with maybe something. But baby, this is what I know how to sew. And it look good on my body. And this is what I'm doing. I'm sticking to it. And a lot of queens have not figured that out yet after 9,000 seasons. It drives me bonkers.
Run through of the mashup, the teams and the mashups, and then I would love to hear from you guys. You know, based on, you know, these different mashups, which ones would you like to have if you were competing, and which one would you want to stay away from? So we've got Juicy Love Dion and Briar Blush doing Rihanna's yellow Met Gala gown and Lil Nas X pink cowboy look. We've got Jane Doan and Discord, who picked Bob Mackey's share looks. and Audrey Hepburn's Givenchy Elegance look. We've got Nini Coco and yeah, there we go. Next one we have is Nini Coco and Mikey Meeks, and they're doing Jennifer Lopez's green Versace dress and Lizzo's Schiaparelli orange look. Then we've got Sierra Mist and Kenya Pleaser, who are doing
Can we
the
pause for
mashup.
just 1 second? I just have to say, Krell, you ain't shit. You ain't shit, you ain't shit, you ain't shit, bitch. You ain't shit, bitch, okay? Because I saw what you didn't put over that photo, okay? Because who it was.
It wasn't me. I found, like, because the ones that Devon sent, I was like, oh, hold on. Like, it was, anyway. But I was like, we ain't about to put her out here.
And you ain't shit, but I love you for it.
I was literally just gonna keep on breezing past it, but
no, ma'am. Absolutely.
Call a spade.
Well done. Well done. Continue. Carry on.
all right. So Sierra Mist and Can You Please are doing Lady Gaga's meat dress and Britney Spears all denim AMA look. Next, we have Vita Von Teese and Mila Starr doing Little Kim's purple pasty look and then Bjork's swan dress mixed together. And then last but not least is Athena Dion and Darlene Mitchell doing Billy Porter's Sun God and Kim Kardashian's Sun God look with Kim Kardashian's nuclear wet look. So out of all these pairings, which would be the pairing that you would most like to work with? And then which would you personally like to work with the least?
If I'm being 100% honest, this right here would have been my favorite pairing. Right here. And I say that just because the metallic allows for you to play with more structures. And I would have went more of a structure like with Zendaya, and then have some form of maybe like a train that flowed from with like the material, and figured out other ways to incorporate the floral into it. I think these two types of patterns, although they are so opposite, to me, it gives a very hard softness to it that can be very, very beautiful. And I think if someone would have had the time to come prepared with something, and I'm just spitting off the top of my head, it could have been really well. Because I see with Darlene, the hardness around here and around the waistband. If she would have been a little bit more dramatic with that and give me a little bit more with Zendaya, would have been fantastic. She went a little still too much Indiana cowgirl with this, and that's what took it out.
Indiana cowgirl. I love it. Yeah, I would have I would have taken that neck piece and made it all across like a hard like shoulder pad kind of moment thing. Like I almost feel like this one you could use the silver as a neutral, for lack of better words. Like, and so the silver is like a blank canvas that you could kind of almost utilize for anything. I almost would have flipped, like say for like Darlene, I probably would have almost had more silver and used the floral for the accents instead of the floral being the main thing, and the silver being like the accents. And both of them, like I guess Athena tried to do that, but it was just an ugly design. The arm thing, like I was like, "What? This look a mess."
It must have read definitely on TV
the silver, maybe
because this looks like boo boo.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
I would have wanted either this one or the Cher. What's her face?
Emma Paulson.
Ryan Murphy's muse is what I call her.
Yeah,
Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson. Yeah, I would have wanted this because Rue loves Cher, and I think anything again collecting Cher would have been read to filth, and both of these were boo boo to me too. So, homegirl, Jane don't look a flying squirrel. Stop playing with me.
You said, "Come on, Discovery Channel."
I actually applaud the nod to this kind of like Erte silhouette because it is such a unique, interesting Art Deco kind of silhouette to make, and the construction that is involved with putting this look together is pretty impressive. I can understand why she didn't win this from a drag perspective, and we'll talk about, who won and who lost and all that kind of stuff. But from a pure design perspective, I thought she did a good job. I think
I
me
agree.
personally,
I
if
agree
I was,
with that.
if I think from a personal perspective, if I had to choose out of all of the the mashups, which one I would want to work with, maybe unpopular opinion, I would want to work with the meat dress and the denim. I
I knew you were
really
gonna say
felt
that one.
like I really feel like this provided a really fantastic opportunity to have some campy fun. I'm actually really surprised that no one used the meat fabric in any way. For example, Kenya, who
Say it.
we'll get into it, she had the meat as a purse. And in my view, it would have been a perfect opportunity to take that meat fabric and turn that into like an oversized, super draggy kind of purse. And so and for me, I think I would have had a lot of fun playing with these two designs. I think the ones that I would have probably struggled the most with would probably be the Jennifer Lopez and Schiaparelli dress. I
Yeah,
think I would have
Yeah.
probably struggled the most with that just because
because those patterns don't go together
oh
at all.
just
They are
At all.
real. They are clashing. Clashing.
it's so muddy, like the,
Yeah,
the way that it reads. I mean, I think they did a nice job with what they had, but just those two color combinations is
yeah.
it's a muddy, not vibrant, not effervescent, not beautiful kind of color palette to work with, just color alone. And then the choice of fabrics that they had to work with also made it really, really, really tough.
Yeah, like I would say, out of all of them, this is for sure the toughest one. I will also say, like, they surprised me of what they came up with because I was like, I was struggling to see how the fuck this shit was gonna go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, so all the girls come out with their pairings. Then all the girls go back. The judges deliberate, and then bring them back on, and we've got some tops and some bottoms. So let's just go, look by look. So we've got Juicy Love Dion and Blair Blush. And at this point, Juicy is the one who wore it best, while Blush
Looking like Nacho
fainted.
Libre. Blair looking, bro, that's she came out. I was like, is that Nacho motherfucking Libre?
Yeah, I honestly, I feel where she went wrong is that she, for good, bad, or indifferent, she took all that time on the cape and didn't do anything to the bodysuit. There was no embellishment, no, with the exception of, the straps. Everything from the titties below, there was nothing really there. Do
I
you
don't know
agree with
why
the
I
judge's
keep thinking
decision
that
on this?
I do, and I don't know why, but I just keep seeing if Danny DeVito from Batman as the Penguin did drag, this is what it would look
Stop.
like. Because
That is the most obscure reference.
but say you don't see it. Say you don't see it
I'm
though.
so
Now,
done. Done. Finished.
but
Finito.
what I will
Take me
say,
out.
praise-wise, is Briar can paint
Yes,
Oh,
her
yes.
absolutely.
fucking face.
Mug
Yes.
Mug
Oh,
is great. Mug is
Mug is
great.
that
great.
face is, and even when they were in the workroom and she was, having that conversation with me and they were squashing the beef and whatnot, and she only had one eye done. I was like, God damn, you
Yeah.
know how to paint.
Yeah.
Everybody else looking like a chalkboard, and you over here looking like a Picasso. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That girl can
But
paint.
then,
Yeah.
then the rest of it, girl. Ow.
Next pairing is Jane Don't and Discord, and out of these two looks, they say that Jane is the top. Do you agree with this?
Yeah. Even though
I
I didn't
mean,
like either
given
one
what,
of them.
yeah, given what we were working with,
Yeah.
because I understand what you said earlier, Dewan, about like the construction and the material, but
Yeah.
none of that was cute, flattering, or the moment. So A for effort for building and constructing it, but as far as what's flattering for her, that would not have been the outfit that I would choose. So, like I mentioned earlier, having options of what you're going to design would have been helpful. And this is reading. I came with a game plan, but I only have so few. So I'm going to use this particular style in this case.
Jane don't and
That's
how
why you got to
she
have 3 options. 'Cause
Yeah, what I
she
noticed
came with
about
2 and this ain't it.
how Jane designs, she doesn't really design draggy clothes. She designs clothes.
Yeah.
Now they look good and they're well constructed, but in terms of being well constructed and whatnot. But even if you remember the last runway challenge, that the coloration of her, even though she did 3 pieces, which included a jacket, and they were all well constructed, not really a pretty look to look at, and not really a draggy kind of look. But out of the 2, the judges liked hers better, so kudos to her.
Shout out to Discord though. She gonna get that money for this damn walk. I see so many reels now of people doing the Discord walk, and like it cracks me up every time they put the Discord camera up. So she gonna make some coin. Good for her. But that walk is woo.
And what else is crunchy is the way that she paints. Her face, brick. That she needs to ask some of the other girls, because I get it, she's a punk rock edgy whatever, but there's a way to do that and look pulled together, and the struggle bus for me. All right, let's move to the next one. We've got Mia Starr and we have Mikey Meeks and Nini Coco. And Nini is the winner here. Do you guys agree with that, or do you feel like?
If I'm being honest, I would have gave it to Mikey, and I'm gonna say I would have given it to Mikey as well, just because Mikey did more with the actual material from the J-Lo look. Nene just took green and just kind of wrapped it around and tried to reference how it was shaped or draped on J-Lo's body. So because Mikey took more of a risk and tried to truly incorporate both, I'm going with Mikey in this one. And like Law said, I couldn't get past seeing Shania Twain either. So
come on, boys. Here's what I'll say about Nene though. Nene know how to sew. Nene know how to construct a fucking garment like that, even though it's like a basic, like a legging outfit, pretty much a jumpsuit. It was constructed well. This was just the hardest one out the bunch. So I was just like, I don't know what they're gonna do. So I gave it to Mikey slightly, just like similar to Drew. I was like, the gown was constructed well, and it was maybe a little more creative. She just had a little too much on. So they talked about the appliques and things like that. I would have taken that applique off. I probably would have taken maybe the head thing off. It was just too much. Like, it's like leave the house and take one thing off. She had to take 2 or 3 things off. But both of them, it was just like one. It's just like, this is the toughest off the bunch. So like, if I was a judge, I would have been like, y'all both safe. The garments are constructed well. Ed, you just got a bad luck of the draw.
This was a splitting hairs, because this was a comparison of maximalism and minimalism. One of the things that Nikki has done very well, is in her design aesthetic, when she's designing it herself, is she practices a lot of restraint. You can tell in that, she's taking core elements, and she's Nene.
Okay.
She's taking a minimalist approach, a restrained approach. She's taking the core essence of these 2 garments and pulled them together, which can also read as underwhelming. And then you have, on the other end, you have Mikey, who, over accessorized and over appliqued and added a lot on. And that's a very maximalist kind of approach. And this boils down to, with really terrible fabrics, I think personal choice. Got Sierra Mist and Can You Please Her? And Sierra shockingly, not shockingly, Sierra got the win on this one. Obviously, it's just interesting that Enya so much about, I can sew, And then Jarrell, to your point, it's like, okay, you can sew, but bitch, you can't style. And her taste level, I mean, if you even go back to last week with that outfit where she looked like a black and white flying squirrel, with the fabric coming out of her booty hole, like
Yeah, booty hole.
some,
Yeah, it's a taste
some,
level.
it is. But baby, you know what? She can sell a look though. She's got hella personality,
Oh yeah.
and you can't tell her that she doesn't look good when when she looks terrible, and that goes for a lot, I think, in this kind of competition.
I
Not enough,
personally
'cause she
like
gonna go
this.
home soon.
No, I didn't like. I like this better than some of the other girl stuff that was put out there. Like I like this better than I liked the Nene Coco and Mikey
Oh
Meeks.
really?
I like this better than I liked for Jane Don't, and I like for Discord, because at least I could see the vision of the execution and how it was made better with this than with the other ones. To the point Dewan made about Jane Don't, I can see what the construction was and the hardness of that. I can see that she actually sewed and put things together with this. The other girls were literally hot gluing and barely sewing things together. So when it comes to like actually building an outfit, she actually built this outfit.
But it
and
ain't
that's
no
what I
meat
give
dress
her.
nor no
I
denim.
I didn't say it. She did the job
Concept, yeah,
correctly.
but in terms
I didn't
of-
say
in
she
terms
did
of
the
the
job
execution,
correctly. I
yeah.
didn't say none of that. I was just saying from the being able to sew perspective,
Yeah.
I can see that she can sew, but it's just going back to the stylist part that I mentioned earlier. And honestly, I didn't even like Sierra Mist either.
Really, I liked
Show
Sierra
didn't.
Mist.
It looked cheap.
If we can go back to
Well.
Kenya real quick, I want to co-sign on what Jarrell said, because as someone who designs and makes their own, not clothes for me, but for dolls and whatnot, and build my own patterns and whatnot, doing an inset like she's done here with the denim fabric, inset into the design of the red dress, the red part of the dress, is not an easy feat that a beginner with very few sewing classes under their belt, even if they have the patterns for them, it's not easy to make. And the other thing that I will compliment her on, even though the placement and applique of things, the fringe on the top, and I don't know what that so-called scarf is doing, but if you look at purely just what her body shape it looks like and what in the clothing, she fits her body well. This fits her. You don't see buckling and gaping and misaligned seam edges that you would typically see with somebody who doesn't know how to sew. So I give her her props in that, the execution of what she designed, she executed what she designed. It just
There we
didn't
go.
meet the challenge.
I agree with that statement. She executed what she fucking designed. I'll give you that. And the mug is mugging. Like I do like her painting for her face. The mug is mugging, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't. She came around that corner. I was like, Kenya, no. I will say this though about Kenya. Kenya's going to be another one to watch out in the future All Stars. I think once she watches this season back and sees the aesthetic, like, oh, that didn't read how I thought it was going to read on TV. And I think she's going to fine tune, calibrate. She's going to come back in a couple of seasons and be like, okay, she gets it now.
And when she works with some designers who can execute the vision well, I think it's gonna come up well.
Here we go.
All right, Dion and Darlene, and out of these two looks, the judges went for Athena Dion. Do you agree with this decision?
That silver does not lay right, move right at all in her dress. I do not see what they are looking at, but it looks like some freaking Reynolds aluminum foil as she walked her way down the runway, and it just did not look right at all to me. At all.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. This was in my bottom. Like,
yeah.
I was like, she could go home on this one. This was terrible.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I really struggled with this. If we go back to Darlene's look, I felt like it fit her body like a glove. I love the shoulder peplums as a touch to bring a little bit of additional femininity against that hard metal choker that she had. I wish it had a little bit more silver elements to it, but by comparison of having something that was form fitting, silhouetted nicely, I mean, she looked 7 feet tall on top of the platform heels that she had, but like the silhouette,
7-foot platforms.
the silhouette, if you just look at the silhouette alone, is just, it's so flattering to her body by comparison to the silhouette of, the tablecloths and capes that Athena was wearing, which is very on brand for her as, a goddess. It gives you, a license to kind of go in that realm. But I felt like this was a much more better, well executed version of the fabrics and resources that they had to pull these looks together than what Athena brought to the stage. So I didn't agree with that.
On brand for who she is as well too, as far as the
1000%.
execution as to who she's been the 4 episodes so far. Like, again, very on brand to who she is. So honestly, this was one of my tops, if I'm being 100% honest.
It was in my tops as well.
I agree with you 100%.
Because I was just like, yep, absolutely.
You
this
know
is
who
exactly what I expected.
That's Darlene.
Exactly. I had no questions. And then the fact that, again, it was made just like all the other girls had to make one too. I'm like, well, damn, hold on. So now I'm looking at all the other girls and be like, so what was your problem?
Yeah.
What were you doing in the workroom while she was over here creating this?
Yeah.
And that's why I was going after Kenya like that. I was like, you see, this, I don't like it because you had the same amount of damn time, and that's what you came out with.
But I think the difference between the two though is Darlene has a lane and she stays in that lane. Where Kenya issue is Kenya likes to be outside of the box. She likes to try something different, and she tried something different and she missed. Darlene was like, I'm gonna stick to what I know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm gonna execute the fuck out of it, and that's the big difference.
I think you got to know in this show when to swing for those outside the box moments.
Correct.
Like, and hopefully we see a Darlene where she does something that surprises us, because right now she is staying in that lane. I know she will too. But like, I think one of the key things that we see for winners across all the seasons is they know when to be their drag aesthetic, and they know when to go outside the box and switch something up that they're capable of switching up. Mm-hmm.
You both are, so I agree with everything that you've said, and I think you both are teetering around a particular issue with Kenya. And this is one of the things that I struggled with, even from the Meet the Queens, because I struggled with her, as you all know, from the Meet the Queens. I don't think she knows what her brand truly is yet. Mm-hmm. And outside of being a Lizzo impersonator,
and I think that's the struggle. Yes,
that's the bus that she's on. So when it comes to how do I then interpret that into these challenges, I think where she falls flat is she's trying to create, to whatever degree she can, things that just look good, and they don't, when she's not successful at that. And she needs to think about things that represent her as a brand, because over these past couple of episodes, I really can't tell you, I have very clear idea of who a lot of the other queens are. I can't really pinpoint for Kenya what her brand aesthetic is, other than, having a lot of personality.
That's what makes her dangerous. But that's the part that makes her dangerous, is the moment she figures out what her brand is, and then be able to sell shit and have that personality with her. It's over. Exactly. It's over. Yeah. Like, she's could very well be the favorite to win this season had she had a brand. But that's like we got to talk about coming back later. She's going to be one of those girls you're going to watch out for. Absolutely. Once she figures that out.
She's one of those ones that I think, one of the things that there's a couple things that I really like about her that are really anchored in her personality. First of all, her confessionals, I'll be sad when she's gone, because her confessionals crack me the fuck up. She brings a lot of, there are going to be people that are going to be quoting her. just like the Latrice Royales and all the drag, Alyssa Edwards and all these kind of play.
Yeah.
She is delivering some great color commentary, and when she exits, I'm gonna miss that. And then I think also she is a person that, regardless of what the challenge is, does not have a defeatist mindset. So even though her execution has not been great, as we've seen with a lot of other things, she attacks these challenges with, in my opinion, the right kind of mindset. I just think that she is not seasoned enough, to be able to execute it in the way that she could. But to your point, Jarrell, I think that once she's able to figure out the secret sauce for her and figure out what her lane is and how to be able to execute in her lane, she's going to be really unstoppable.
So then should we talk about the end? Oh, we forgot about these two. Damn.
No, we just have one more. And we've got Mia Starr and Vita Von Teese. And so Vida, of course, is identified as the winner for this lovely look on.
He said, "Of course."
I mean, the judges said it all. This, out of all the looks, is the draggiest of drag look. Like this is
drag.
High drag.
Yeah.
This is, I'm performing in a competition for drag queen of the world. This is high drag.
This is the example that we keep saying this whole episode of coming in knowing I know how to sew this, because this does not look like no Lil' Kim. It don't look like no Katy Perry. But she knew I can make this dress and incorporate whatever the challenge is somehow, some way, with the color schemes,
the chandelier,
the chandelier is a purse. Literally, that's how you incorporate. This is what I know how to do, and I will find a way to make it work for whatever challenge that the other girls kind of missed a lot.
Yeah, she knew her strengths, and she knew her strength coming into this would be to be the sewing girl, and she's proven in both design challenges, being top on both design challenges, that's going to be her strength. Because in the other challenges, she's been very meh. I will say this for me. I felt kind of like Darlene. I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I expected. This is what I expected exactly from her. I do think this was better than Darlene's, but I think for me, the miss was that I don't, how do I put this? I feel like this is just so on the nose for her that it's not outside the box, and I don't see her pushing herself. I think she did the homework too well. It's kind of like when the person gets the cheat codes to the cheat sheet to the exam, and instead of getting 99%, they did 100%. And you're like, no, bitch, hold on.
You done cheated.
You didn't cheat it, right? Like, that's kind of what it's given me a little bit. Like, she didn't overdone the homework, where she didn't leave herself any room to be creative outside of the box. And I feel like, and I'm gonna say this now, and I may be wrong later, but if we see another design challenge, we're gonna see another type of, again, pageant queen type of outfit. So to me, this isn't necessarily drag, this is pageant. Just that the last one was pageant. Okay. And I think there's a difference between a pageant look and a drag look. And this gives more pageant. The only thing that makes it drag is that damn chandelier. Other than that, if you look at the hips, if you look at the shoulder pads, if you look at the cape, and if you look how the dress hits the bottom of the floor, just slightly enough, as pageant, not necessarily drag, but it's executed flawlessly. So that's why she wins. But she's gonna have to do something different.
My interpretation of Vida so far is that she is meaning.
Wait, say it again.
Meaning, she has a blueprint, copy paste. Blueprint, copy paste. Blueprint, copy paste. You saw it in the acting challenge where it's just, I'm going to deliver what the words are on the cue cards. She's going to deliver on the assignment. I think, Jarrell, you bring up a really interesting insight. I think where the struggle is that if it's not within her wheelhouse, I don't think that she is challenging herself enough to go outside of her comfort zone. And in that comfort, she's like, yes, she's had some wins and she's had some mess, but in the end, I have to say, I don't think that she's that memorable. And so like I would love to see her have a kind of like come to Jesus moment, and maybe one challenge where she gets in the bottom and she has to lip sync for her life. That will help her. I hope to see that sooner rather than later, and we might see that in next week episode. But
Yeah.
The
we
Tanner
will
show.
see.
Yeah.
Let's
Like she's one that is so pageant that she doesn't know how to color outside the lines, or she doesn't feel
Yes.
comfortable coloring outside the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've had some pageant girls in the past where they're like, "Oh no, I can switch it up." She doesn't know. She's not comfortable to switch it up, at least yet. So
Yeah.
hold on, and we didn't
just
say
shout
hey
out-
to Mama Ru though, Dewan.
No, we gotta say Mia Starr though too. Before we get to Mama Ru,
yeah.
let's get to Mia Starr.
Oh, yeah, let's.
The titties out.
let's-
The titties out. I give her that.
That's about it.
I don't like the ruffle down the front at
Oh,
all
God, no.
whatsoever. I don't know why, but she looked like a long ass like little sperm, just like going down her body.
does-
It just don't look right to me.
She does very
Cake to
capable
me versus
drag.
chandelier.
Ooh, wait, what's the shit? Say that again.
And cake than she does a chandelier.
A wedding cake instead of chandelier. Yeah, I could see that as well.
Yeah, she's the tip, and I don't want this to sound too mean because I don't want it because I like her.
I do too.
But she gives just very capable drag, if that makes sense. Like it's not anything I haven't seen already, but it's not like it's terrible drag, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's
very
not
middle of the
innovative.
road. It's not innovative, but I'm going to enjoy her and give her money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't see her winning the show.
Yeah, I understand. And Mia Starr is actually my favorite one on the season right now. Like as far as like a
Personality.
person, yeah. Like I just know that if I ever like met Mia Starr, that like we gonna
cool.
kiki, we gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Like that's my friend. That she'll be a Judy. She would quickly become a Judy because I just feel like very similar energy. But I'm with you, Carell. And maybe that's just because, she stepped away and then everything would happen to her brother as we learned. And then, finding like how beautiful was that we found out that her entry look of the denim was her brother's, denim jeans that she cut up and repurposed into the entry look, was just that made me tear up. And I was just like, I was just like, you know what, Mia, I fucks with you. I really, really do. Not this outfit, but you, I do.
That
Her brother was fine.
fine as shit.
I didn't want to say it. Because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I say that in the most respectful kind of way possible. But when I saw that was not the picture that I was expected to see.
Me either. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
And I said
In
it
the
to
most
Corey and I were
beautiful,
watching on couch.
respectful kind of
I was like, that motherfucker fine as shit.
So, but yeah,
you know who Mia reminds me of, by the way?
Effort.
Who? Mia Starr reminds me of Chris, community member Chris.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That-
I can see
I
it.
can see
Literally.
that.
I can see
The whole
it.
I
episode,
can
I was like,
totally
that
see
is
that.
Yeah.
Chris.
Personality, inflections in the way that they talk and
Yes.
how they keep it real and
Yes.
yeah, I can definitely see
And so
that.
that's why I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
shout
I
out
fucks
Chris.
with
Yeah.
Mia Starr, but the
Yeah.
drag is very capable.
Yeah.
Maru, and then we'll wrap this bitch up.
Ooh, yeah, let's get it. Hold on. Gosh, I have too many tabs open. I'm sorry, y'all. Next time
That's
I'm going to
all right.
do better. Do better, be better. Here we go.
And then again, shout out while you're doing that. Shout out to Law Roach for just continuing to bring the chaos, the drama, the information, the fashion
Baby.
perspective.
When Law said, when I come to be on
love.
RuPaul's Drag Race, I don't come to look at a man in a dress.
It took me out.
Me
Took
too.
me
said,
out.
well, I
I
know
was
that's
like,
right.
You kind of.
Mama Brew looks
To
really good.
Annalie, and shout out to Annalie Ashford as well. Like she gave really great commentary as someone who admitted that she watched every single season of RuPaul's Drag Race during her pregnancy. When Mia came out, she was like, titties, we love titties. I was like, I love that song. So good choice on the judges. What do we think about Ru's look this week?
I like it better than that judge.
Ooh, I was about to say it was the Law Roach show for me too, because the judge was
Exactly.
kind of
I was
forgettable.
like, that was nice to one, but she was all right. Yeah.
Mama, no, I love this dress. I love everything about this look except the hair. It was the wrong wig for me.
Honestly, I think for the first time, I'm okay. Not the first time. I'm okay with this wig. I don't see this wig really being styled with anything else. Like I was like, if you're gonna wear this wig, I feel like this is probably the only type of garment you gonna wear this wig with. Because I just can't
don't
see
wear
you.
the wig.
True, true. However,
You got a lot of plethora of wigs. Don't wear this one no more.
Literally as a Golden Girls wig.
Yeah, it ages
and
her.
well, and so is she. So is she. So this is
She's
fitting.
a golden girl, but she don't got to look
She
it.
is.
I mean, the face don't look it. I mean, she doing what she can, girl. She north of 60, girl. Like, ain't she almost 70, if not 70?
Yeah,
so I mean,
Girl trying to wear booty shorts. It does not work. I'm sorry. It does. This does not.
the wig don't look like no Blanche Ram booty shorts. Okay. Okay.
It's just the hair for me. The dress is gorgeous. The mug is gorgeous. The hair aged her for me for this particular kind of dress.
Yeah. I like here's my thing. I don't need all drag queens trying to do, like we said on the episode, the Kris Jenner. Okay. One thing that I love about this is she's staying within that 15-year window. Like, she don't need to be looking like the girls who are actually competing. She don't need to. I don't need her looking like we're the same age. I want to know that I am younger, okay? So I don't need all that. I think body-wise, the dress is sculpted perfect. I love how the cross, like, right over in the front. I was like, ooh, this is
see-through.
It was sexy. It was sexy. But yeah, she's an auntie.
She need to borrow this wig. That's the wig.
Well, that's what I was. If you can go back to that picture, one of the things that I thought when I saw this is I would love to see RuPaul in a center part split share wig that's white or blonde down to her knees. I'm talking 64 inches. Like that with this dress, would have ate just fluttering behind her as she's walking with the hardness of the metal and all that, to just have that slick down, tucked behind her ears, bitch. You know, a little bit like cascading off of her shoulders onto the bag, down past, you know, like an off-center cut that peaked in the middle. Baby.
We want that Cher, Bob Mackie, Naomi Campbell.
That would have just been... that would have been beautiful,
and it would have been unexpected. We'd be like, "Damn, we ain't never see Ru wear like the human hair like that." And we would have gagged for our lives.
But Dewan, you were saying though, in this white color though, right? Not in the black.
It could be black. I think.
The thing is, if it was black, she would have been washed out. We got to think lighting. We got to think the backdrop. The dress itself is already dark. I like the buzz down. If it was in white like that,
white or blonde would have been great.
Yeah, something light would have been great. I absolutely agree. Yeah. Or even like an auburn red would have looked really cute.
Because she always wear the damn auburn. Like, just give it to us once, RuPaul. Just once.
I would love to see her do center part, human hair, tucked behind the ears, split down, just cascading back. Oh my God, that would just...
Or even put in a high-ass pony. She already 9 feet tall. Bitch, be 12 motherfucking feet tall and just gag us.
Yes.
Ooh, I just got excited. Sorry.
Law Roach, give her some of your wigs, girl. We got to incorporate some of this stuff.
Please. Okay, let's end it up.
Bottom two. They're
she came too. The wig said that about the faint though too hard. Like, did y'all think it was like for real, or that's what Vida was like? Did she faint for real?
It's Cher. Well, I'll say a couple things. One, we saw. I think that it was real, in part because I've seen a couple of faints up close recently, actually. And one of the things that I noticed was that if you look at her eyes, like if this was kind of a fake thing, you know, there would be a little bit of like overacting with the eyes and falling down. But she just kind of like blank stared and fell down, and that does happen, especially. Yeah. And she did admit that apparently she was diagnosed with walking pneumonia that had then turned into an infection, sepsis. Yeah, sepsis. So she was unbeknownst to her, she had no idea that this was going on in her body and all this kind of thing. She found it after the fact. So it's sad that I think I think we all were thinking it like, okay, this is a stunt. And it's sad that that's the first thing that comes to mind. But given her other theatrics, it's not unreasonable for us to question as to whether or not it was real. And either way, it did matter.
The cameraman ain't shit though for focusing on that hole in her pants though.
Well, I mean, it was gaping.
It was. But that baby's face looked so beautiful on the way down. Even when she came to, she's like, "What?" She's like, "What happened?"
Yeah, that's gotta be scary. I've fainted before. You do wake up like, what the fuck happened?
That's a scary feeling. But so they lip sync for their life. Shout out to Vita Von Teese, who was the challenge winner and all that kind of stuff. And then shout out to Kenya, who won the lip sync between the two. Are we surprised by this? Do we think there would have been a different outcome?
It might be 2 weeks in a row that I'm gonna say this. Send them both home. It was crunchy for me. It was like, I think she did a little better than Briar, but I ain't like neither one.
Yeah, I mean, I think she did better than Briar, absolutely. I don't know, given everything that we know now that Briar was going through, and then everything that was leading up to it as well too, like, I wonder how Briar would have been if she was at her best, if that makes sense. But I mean, that's just the way the dice rolled, and that's how it happened. But like, as much as I was not the biggest fan of Briar, just because first of all, I, as a loud girl, not a mean girl, as a loud girl, I don't do well with mean girls, right? Because the loud in me just gets even louder. And so Briar had already like kind of rubbed me a certain way the first 4 episodes, but I still feel like Briar has room to grow, and I would like to see her come back in some capacity just to be like, okay, so where is Briar? Who is Briar now? If that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, like, Kenya Pleaser won, and I mean, again, we talked about she can sell shit. Like, did she do anything too extra or too out of it? No, but you know what she didn't do? She didn't lip sync to the girl.
There we go. You right on that. You're right on that.
And this, again, that makes a lot of difference in the performance. And I'm glad to see that we've got her for another week. And I think, to your point, Carell, I think we got all that we're going to get out of what a lip sync with Kenya is going to be. I was not surprised. And this was a pretty high energy song. So, if she gets another high energy song, it's probably going to be, she's going to do a couple of, struggle kicks in the air. She's going to do a split or two.
Did you say struggle kicks?
I mean, and she's going to deliver personality. But I think in terms of, really embodying the song, in terms of giving us kind of theatrics and, really great moments, I don't think that we're going to be able to see anything out of this. So, we let the history prove me wrong, but
no, you're going to be right.
Not too optimistic.
We're going to see them struggle kicks again.
Because, baby, when she did it, I was like, now why'd you do that? That was so unnecessary.
Twice, like, because, like, I still like a split in a song, but to do it twice in your performance, that just tells me you don't have nothing else. And so I agree. The struggle clicks, the splits, you don't sold everything that you're going to sell. What you got, like, there's nothing left in your tool belt now. And
I guess I would like to give as a former gymnast and diver myself, who can still do the splits today, I think any girl who does the splits needs to know how to come out of the splits as well too.
Amen.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Is just like, if you just roll off the splits every single time to get momentum to get up, you didn't kill the whole beautiful moment of the actual splits. So you need to learn how to split and then turn and then come up into your knees, kind of like how she is in this position right here, and then figure out how to get up. So going from low to high, and this is just also a choreographer
and
just
dancing. Like getting up like this.
Yeah, not like somebody grandma. There's a way to go from high to low.
You can't have your hands all on the floor like that. No.
Yeah, there's a way you go from high to low to high in choreography and when you're dancing. And I think just be cautious of when you're going high to low into a death drop or into a split. How do you go back up?
That's the realest shit you done said this whole episode.
Advice.
Amen. Amen.
I'm not gonna like totally dog on all of her choreography like I have, but so far. What I did,
struggle kicks, that's all we need to hear.
but I did thoroughly enjoy, and I think the judges enjoyed her twerking through about half of the song, as we see here. We didn't get to see the twerk; we just saw the hunching, and that's the fault of the cameraman. But I do give her some props for that and making the judges laugh. She understands what the assignment is. You got to connect with the judge, and you got to make Rue laugh. And if you can do that, baby, that's the secret sauce. How long it will last, we've yet to see.
I do have to give her one more. I have to give her one more piece of credit, by the way. And I didn't really think about this until now. She made her garment with the intention of making sure that she could dance in case she had to lip sync, and that is actually very, very fucking smart. Because there are so many people who get caught up in a sewing challenge or a garment challenge, and they make something that does not enable them to be able to lip sync. And it was very smart that she made sure that bottom half could be a tearaway that she could get up there and save for her life. So that's one thing I'm going to clock and give her too.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely the right decision there. That was smart on her part in terms of thinking like, full circle moment. So that's good. All right. Any last thoughts on this episode?
Nobody's moving in. Like, Kenya gonna be gone. I'm trying to predict who's next to be out of here. It's gonna be Kenya ain't gonna make it in the top 5.
Darlene ain't gonna make it in the top 5. Mikey Meek's not gonna make it in the top 5 either.
Vida, no. Vita's gonna be like the one that's gonna be close. It's gonna be coming. Vida and Mia are gonna be duking it out for like the top 5, 6 position.
And I see it being Vida just because I think from a runway perspective, she will beat out Mia because Mia is a more choreography girl.
But is she gonna beat her in the dance off though? That's the thing. Mia's the choreographer girl.
They've got at least going to be the only one girl.
I was thinking
group challenge.
Vida won't make it down to the bottom because of the fact that her garment won't get her in the bottom. So I think she'll be battling someone else who we thought would be a favorite, who may have messed up, like a Nene Coco or something like along those lines. Yeah.
You get to see the girls do supposedly we get to see next week what the girls do best, which is the talent show. So this will be really interesting to see what talents they truly are bringing. Hopefully we can see some things that we haven't seen before. This has been one of my favorite. Challenges because you just get to see, given the opportunity to do whatever you want for 2.5 minutes. How are you going to show us that you are a star and you deserve to be there? And this is going to be very telling now that we have all this other information behind it.
Information as in they lack creativity, so I don't see any creativity coming in that talent show next week.
This is Mia's to take home for the win. If she's gonna win an episode, this is the one for Mia to take home.
This is 1,000%. 1,000%
for sure.
Because I don't know if there's anyone else I really want to see do anything.
and hopefully, it's not just her. Lip syncing to a unique song. I would love to see something that's a little bit more. But I mean, the girl, she's a dancer, and she's a choreographer. So I expect to see that.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Well, I mean, based off what we saw with the group number and what she did with the group number, like Carell said, it is hers to lose for this talent show.
I wonder if the girls, now that they know that the talent show is one of the first 2 episodes, if they had the capability of making any changes to their choices, or if because they have the same backup dancers and all that, and I don't know how when they do the choreography for the backup dancers for their shows and whatnot, when they do the planning and production for that, if that's done in the very beginning and then they execute it weeks later, or if it's done the week of the episode. But I wonder if some girls, since they didn't do the talent show in the beginning, if they switched it up.
But you know one
It'll
thing
be
we
interesting to
forgot?
find out.
It's also Raider Queen. So we also forgot to add that whole element in there too. That is Raider Queen as well. So we already seen in some of the clips that some of the girls are being like, well, Jane, don't you've been up there at the top? Wouldn't it be kind of crazy that I rank you down at the bottom, etc. So
I
yeah,
think they're gonna say that to her, but I doubt they're gonna rate her at the bottom. Like, I feel like they're gonna
To be
realize there's
honest.
some other twist that's coming again, either this episode or later.
no, well, they already said that they were already saying that Nene is a shady one, and Nene was the one in the clips, saying that she would be the
shady.
one to do it. So I do see a couple of girls doing it. Athena gives me that she would do it as well too. Nene gives me that she would do it as
absolutely.
well too. Discord would do it as well
and
too.
Vita, because
I
she's
think
a passive
Sierra
girl. She
Mist
knows how it
and Vida
works.
would do it as well too. I think Darlene is probably the one girl, and Mia are probably the two girls that I would say probably wouldn't do it. But I think all the other girls are very capable and being able to be like, well,
Well, I can't wait to find out then.
And I think it'll be really interesting because if she does end up in the bottom and having to lip sync in some kind of way, I think she's going to kill it.
Well,
And
she
I think they're
definitely
going to
will
be
kill
all,
it.
and then I think they're going to be even more pissed.
Yeah.
And I would love
Can
to
you
see
imagine that they rank Mia and like Jane don't at the bottom two, and then Mia got to send that girl home?
that. Or they get a double
Well,
thing.
Because I mean, again,
to
if they
find
do
out,
the
yeah.
Jane don't being number one and rank her down, and then if Mia actually ends up being the best and rank her down, then technically
It'll be some
if
good
they played
TV.
it will be the bottom two.
It'll be some good
Yeah.
TV.
Oh.
And that's why I kind of say earlier, like I think that's how Mia might sneak in above Vida. Like it's gonna be something where we're like, oh my god, Mia's gonna eat her up in the lip sync. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
We know there is a girl group challenge that's going to be coming up. There's going to be a Rusical that's going to be coming up, and those are likely going to be challenges specifically for Vida. Because she can't stand out.
Well, community, let us know your thoughts and all that shit in the comments, and we'll keep. Obviously, it's we're only halfway, not even halfway through probably the season, so we got more to come. So hang in there with us, watch it with us, and wash your hands, your legs, and your ass. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.